to set.
Camera speed.
Sound production, take one.
Action!
I always recount this. I was reading Robert Rodriguez's Shooting from the Hip, I believe. Rebel Without a Clue. Robert Rodriguez, he wrote this book around the making of El Mariachi. And it was essential reading. If you were growing up in the 90s and you were there for like the rise of independent film. So you would have this, you would have like the Clerk screenplay available, you would have the Pulp Fiction screenplay, any interview compilation. There might be one or two of them at the time, even back then, for Quentin Tarantino. But this was, there was like a breath of life in cinema. We thought the internet age, we think AI, we thought the age of YouTube would bring this like independent film mecca into the consciousness, and it never happened. True independent movies lived and died in the 90s. All the little companies got absorbed by bigger companies, and then the bigger companies just call major Hollywood movies independent movies, and and then there you go. So I read this book, right? I get from Barnes & Noble in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And Robert Rodriguez, he's being flown around. And they ask him, like, what film do you want on your flight? And he says Barfly. And from that point on, that movie stuck to me. Now, here's the wild thing. I had trouble getting it on DVD. Had trouble even around... And even around that time, VHS. But it wasn't until I had a girlfriend, college kid, college educated, right? You guys know me. Sure, I went to the Art Institute of Philadelphia, but that was for animation. So I really don't have college. I got through high school, did okay, but I had remedial classes. I'm not your college guy, guys. But this chick, this babe, well, she, and I think her like drug dealer ex-boyfriend was really into Charles Bukowski. And because of that, well, I fell right into it. And I read Charles Bukowski on the regular. Still, we have a bar here in Philly that's a Charles Bukowski bar on our Fairmount. Feel like I'm the only person that knows who Charles Bukowski is or was when I go into this place. But Barfly is a movie that he wrote about his life by Barbet Schroeder, who has some good movies underneath his belt. But we're not going to go through his filmography. So this movie becomes available on digital, and I snatched it up. I think it was like $15. That was years ago. The movie I put on, it's not on repeat. I've just put this movie on a lot because I want to see, and I want to give reminded. And Frank Stallone's in this too. It's Frank Stallone's best performance. I want to get reminded of how this guy lived. This guy that hates Ernest Hemingway, that thinks Ernest Hemingway was a puss bag and couldn't fight. Just knowing that fact, Bukowski writes about that. But this movie reminds me of what's in the text and the guts and how complex of a life this guy had, to the work ethic and being a somewhat of a alcoholic junkie, but at the same time productive. And what he wrote and the way how he spoke, it mesmerized people, and he grew this massive audience because of it. And Barfly is a little bit of this reminder that you don't have to be in the ivory tower to be influential. You can be in the streets, in the alley. You can be among the scum and influence a generation. And that's exactly what Charles Bukowski did. Now, Charles Bukowski in this movie is played by Mickey Rourke. Isn't that amazing? knowing the life of Mickey Rourke, it doesn't matter. Faye Dunaway plays, I believe, his agent, his publicist, like producer that he has this like weird affair with, and they're just kind of like junky kids stumbling through life. This movie's also a production company, American Zoetrope. It's a Francis Ford Coppola movie, essentially, kind of. The budget for this movie was $5 million. Box office was $3.2. It doesn't matter. I talk about Charles Bukowski a lot. I remind people of him. I bring him up with interns a lot. I feel like he's a voice that people should know. I think, even if you read about his horse betting methods, and he developed a system for everything. Again, like a richly analytical mind. You really want to say that if Charles Bukowski grew up in Silicon Valley, he could have been a Steve Jobs. He really could have. He's that type of. He's got that type of mind. This movie, I'm thankful for this movie because it brings me. It's a reminder to how much I didn't know at the time. In the time where I think I knew a lot, it humbles me that I have more to learn. Because I hate when people name drop things and I don't know what they are. I hate it. That might have been the last major thing, too, guys. But Barfly, this is a eternal movie. This is a flame that should never go out. 1987. You guys should know the name Charles Bukowski, and you should know the movie Barfly. Rock and roll.
Okay, that's a wrap.